Marisa's Marvelous Magic Shop is a game about living the capitalist dream by abusing our workforce for profit and growing our business venture. It also has one of the most terrible UIs for mouse and keyboard. Of course, we can fix this by using a controller, but using a controller can present its own challenges. If I plug in a controller in the middle of a game, I am greeted with an error message and booted back to the main menu, forcing me to reload my latest save. If my controller's battery runs out in the middle of playing, you guessed it, back to the main menu. I decided to play dangerously by just plugging in my controller. Real funny, Chansu. I mean it though. The cord of my controller is not doing so well, and tilting it too far is going to cause me to go back to the main menu. But I like living life on the edge. The story is, we decide to start our magic shop right out here in the forest, but this is completely useless, as the only people that regularly visit us are Cherno and Alice. But Yukari stops by and has us set up in the human village so we can actually sell products. But we're going to need work staff for our new retail business, so we borrow from the Mr. Krabs School of Thought by inviting Cherno to work as unpaid help. Yukari tells us we can't do that as it violates some law, so we promise just to give her some mushrooms now and then. This may sound like a completely unfair payment that exists only to circumvent Gensokyo law, but remember, we're only taking advantage of fairies, and fairies aren't people. Plus, Cherno seems to like the mushrooms, even if they give her the shits. This is where the actual gameplay begins. We'll start by buying ingredients so we can make some magic items. However, any action we take will make time pass forward an entire week. Buy stuff, 1 week. Sell stuff, 1 week. Let staff take a break, 1 week. You get the idea. 1 week may seem like a long time to get something done, but if we convert those units of time into the amount of time it takes me to make a new YouTube video, 1 week is still quite fast. Our goal is basically to always have something in our inventory to sell when we take a week to do anything. We start to get upgrades to our store, allowing us to make new items, make more items, and eventually open up more stores. But Cherno isn't going to be enough to help get all this done, so we ask her fairy friends to help out. We simply pay them a small sign-on bonus to work for us. Eventually though, they'll complain about being tired and we'll have to let them rest. Yukari gives Cherno an energy drink this time, but we'll need to let them rest every time after this. If I let the fairies' HP go into the red again, they'll complain about not being paid any overtime. This is not a problem. I'll simply cut their hours back just enough to avoid having to actually pay them. Eventually, Nitori stops by and asks me to invest into her VTuber startup. As a low-level VTuber simp, and someone who, unbeknownst to the YouTube audience watching this, also has a VTuber mascot on my stream, I of course will invest in Nitori's idea. She says she'll pay me back in 6 months and takes off. Aya also stops by and wants me to invest in her energy water business. She says it can help prevent Parkinson's, diabetes, cancer, and some other made-up BS. This, of course, sounds like a scam, and that's because it is. But the person that really got scammed was, actually myself. The whole thing flopped horribly, and Yukari calls me an idiot for investing in it. After a while, we'll start being attacked by yokai. Things won't go very well if we only have Cherno for our defense, so we'll recruit some bodyguards to help defend our business. Our first recruit is Reimu, and all we gotta do is offer a small sum of cash and she's ready to join. Heck, I only pay her a little more than Cherno's friends, but she's not aware of that. Yomu needs a little more convincing to help us, but once we explain how money can be used to buy goods, and those goods can be used to impress her mistress, she is more than happy to contribute to our cause. Alice comes over just to see why Yomu and Reimu are helping me out suddenly. When we tell her it's just to be bodyguards, she offers to join us for free. So what's the catch? Alice wants something else from us, but Marisa is too dense to understand her advance, so we just pay her 25 grand instead of being gay. As for Nitori's VTuber startup, it ended up being a huge success, and I was able to make a profit from. She then sets her sights on starting a semiconductor business and wants a shit ton of money from me. I'm a gambling kind of person, so I decide to invest in her idea. It continues to cost me a lot more money, but in the end I actually make a huge profit from her work. Aya, however, wants me to invest in digging up some treasure chests. I decline this time since she's not exactly very trustworthy. This backfires on me in a completely different way. She sends Momiji to ask me for an interview, telling me I'm a young, beautiful, and successful CEO. Being naive, I agreed to the interview, which she then writes a completely fabricated article about me being engaged in unlawful action at some diner called the Meow Meow Scarlet Devil Mansion. essentially accusing Marisa of being an Adobe Acrobat document. This is of course fake news, and Yukari gives me the legal advice on how to move forward, and Cherno continues being dumb. Besides it being fake, Yukari prepares the neckbeard defense of saying they're 500-year-old vampires anyway, clearing my name of any wrongdoing. Alright, where were we? Right, yes. Now we have to deal with missiles being launched at our business. Why missiles, you ask? Because it's from a rival business and they want our land. So why are they destroying it? Because there's a loophole in Gensokyo law that allows them to take land if there's an empty lot. So they start launching missiles at us to reduce my business to an empty lot. We can build dummy branches to confuse them, or even expensive rockets to intercept their missiles. But the joke's on them, because I'm rich. The only people they're hurting is my underpaid staff, because it is far cheaper for me to let them die in horrific agony and rebuild than it is to purchase expensive rocket systems. I am, however, willing to invest the minimum in defense by purchasing 100 of Cherno's bottle rockets. They may do something if we fire enough of them, or probably nothing at all. We do finally get to pay off all our debts and can breathe a sigh of relief finally. This is until Cherno ruins everything again. You see, Cherno decided she would start her own cryptocurrency, but Cherno is completely stupid and doesn't understand how security works. So Cherno Coin got hacked and then decides to borrow money she doesn't have to pay off investors. So how does this affect me? She set the whole thing up as a subsidiary of my business. How Marisa doesn't find out until now is anyone's guess. But let's ignore that for a moment so we can talk about gameplay again. Yeah, remember that? Well, you're not really missing much because it starts slow and will just turn into you purchasing 999 of every ingredient, and then next week making the maximum amount of items. You'll spend a little bit of time buying recipes and upgrades, and yeah, that's about it. This is pretty much the entire game loop when no one is bothering you for money. But back to this new $1 million debt I got. It's not a problem at all because I have more money than I know what to deal with. When we pay off our final debt, we decide to celebrate with a gourmet burger. We of course don't get to enjoy the burger because Cherno barges in to shill her Cherno coin. Yukari informs me they also have been buying gold and ran up a new debt for me to deal with. And then everything suddenly ends. Roll credits. You can see my final score here if you really care. It's a very short game, but I will admit the story bits were interesting, and the dev certainly had a passion for something. As for me, I'll have a more serious game next time. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Newspaper's local news division, Aya, admitted to intimidating her subordinate and apologized, but explained that any sexual harassment was purely consensual. Momiji confirmed this and said she had been unable to quit their punishment play test. What the fuck am I reading?